His name was Victor, a name that means winner. But for 30 years, nobody treated him like one. Every morning at 4 a.m., while you were sleeping, while the city was dreaming, while the world was warm in their beds, Victor was already there, broom in hand, head down, sweeping in silence. People walked past him every day. Nobody said his name. Nobody asked his story. Nobody thought he mattered. Children laughed at him. Shopkeepers ignored him. Every dog had more attention than this old man. But at night, when the whole world went to sleep, this old man opened a notebook, and inside that notebook was a secret that would one day shock an entire city. This is the story of Victor, a man the world forgot, but history will never forget. Victor was born in a small poor village. His father was a laborer. His mother washed clothes for rich families. There was never enough food, never enough money, never enough hope. When Victor was just 7 years old, he used to watch other children go to school in clean uniforms. He used to stand at the gate and look inside at the blackboard at the teacher writing words. But Victor could never go inside because his family could not afford even the school fee. So while other children learned to read, Victor learned to survive. At age 10, he carried heavy bags at the market for small coins. At age 12, he cleaned dishes at a roadside restaurant. At age 14, alone with nothing but a small bag and big dreams, Victor left his village and walked into the big city. He knew nobody there. He had no address, no phone, no money, no plan. Just two hands and a heart full of hope. The city was big and loud and fast, and nobody had time for a poor village boy with no education. Victor tried many jobs. He was rejected again and again and again. Until one day, a city supervisor saw him sitting alone on a footpath, hungry and tired. The supervisor said, "Can you sweep?" Victor looked up and said, "Sir, I can do anything." And just like that, Victor became a street sweeper. His area was three long streets in the middle of the city. Every morning at 4 a.m., he reported for duty. His uniform was grey and old. His boots had holes in them. His broom was made of dry stick. But Victor swept those streets like they were the floors of a palace. Every corner, every drain, every footpath, every gutter, he swept with full attention, full care, full respect. People never noticed. They walked past him like he was a ghost. Rich men in big cars drove through streets Victor had cleaned without even looking at him. Office workers stepped over his broom without saying sorry. Young people took selfies on the clean streets Victor had worked on since 4 in the morning. Without knowing his name, days became months, months became years, years became decades. 30 years passed, and Victor was still there. Same street, same broom, same silence. But something else was also happening every single day. Victor was watching. Victor lived alone in a small room, one bed, one table, one small yellow lamp, one window that looked at the street. His dinner was simple: bread, tea, sometimes rice. But after dinner, Victor did not watch TV. He did not gossip with neighbors. He did not scroll on a phone. He sat under that small yellow lamp and he opened his notebook. A thick brown notebook, worn out, cover, old pages. Filled from front to back, inside that notebook were maps. Not just any maps, detailed, careful, precise maps of every street he swept. Every broken road, he had marked it. Every blocked drain, he had noted it. Every dark corner with no street light, he had recorded it. Every place where rainwater collected, every spot where accidents happened, every weak wall, every cracked footpath. For 30 years, every single night, Victor drew these maps by hand, with full measurement, with full careful notes, with dates and time and weather observations. Nobody asked him to do this. Nobody paid him extra. Nobody even knew. His neighbors thought he was just a quiet old man. His supervisor thought he just swept and went home. The city thought he was nobody. But in the small room, under that small lamp, Victor was building something the city's greatest engineers had never built. A complete living record of an entire city's streets. 30 years of observation, 30 years of silence, 30 years of invisible work, all sitting in old notebooks on a small wooden shelf, waiting for the right moment. That moment came. On a dark and heavy monsoon night, the rain started in the evening. By midnight, the streets were rivers. By morning, the city was drowning. Water entered homes, shops were flooded, cars floated like boats, roads completely disappeared. Families climbed onto rooftops. Children cried in the dark. Old people were stuck with no way out. It was the worst flood the city had seen in decades. The government reacted fast. Top engineers were called. Expensive equipment was bought. Teams of experts arrived from different cities. They studied the drainage system. They checked the maps. They ran calculations on a computers. But they could not find the real cause of the flood. 1 week passed, 2 weeks passed. The flood water went down slowly, but the experts were still confused. They knew if they did not find the real problem, next monsoon would be even worse. People would die. Victor watched all of this from his street. He watched the engineers with their big machines. He watched them argue and shake their heads. He watched them look at government maps that were 10 years old and full of mistakes. And Victor thought quietly, I know where the problem is. One afternoon, a young engineer named Daniel was standing alone near Victor's street. He looked tired. He looked frustrated. He was staring at his laptop map with confusion on his face. Victor slowly walked up to him. He stood quietly for a moment. Then he said, Sir. Daniel looked up, slightly annoyed. What? Victor spoke softly. I think I can help. Daniel looked at this old man, grey uniform, worn out boots, a broom in one hand. He almost laughed, but something in Victor's eyes stopped him. A calmness, a certainty, an intelligence that had no certificate but could not be ignored. Daniel said slowly, Okay, show me. Victor reached into his bag and pulled out a notebook. Daniel opened the first page. His eyes went wide. He turned to the next page, and the next, and the next, page after page. 30 years of hand-drawn maps. Every drain in the city, every slope and angle of every road, every place where water blocked, every change Victor had observed over 3 decades. Daniel's hands started shaking. He called his team on the radio. Everyone, come here right now, all of you. Within minutes, 6 engineers were gathered around an old street sweeper on a muddy footpath. All of them staring at a worn-out notebook, all of them completely silent. Victor opened his notebook to a specific page. He pointed to a spot on his map. Here, he said simply. This drain was built in 1987. The government changed the road angle in 2003, but nobody updated the drain direction. For 20 years, every heavy rain, water has been going the wrong way here. It backs up into these 3 streets. These streets connect to the main canal. The canal overflows, and the whole lower city floods. Complete silence. Daniel looked at the government map, then Victor's map, then back at the government map. He pulled out his measuring equipment. They checked Victor's numbers. They were perfect. Every measurement, every observation, every date. 30 years of data, more accurate than any government record. Within 3 days, using Victor's map, the engineers located the exact problem. A wrongly angled drainage junction hidden under an old road. They fixed it in 1 week. The flood problem that had troubled the city for 20 years was finally solved because of one old man, one small lamp, and 30 years of silent work. The news spread like fire. Newspapers ran the story. Television channels came, social media exploded. Street sweepers' notebooks solved city's 20-year flood problem. Everyone wanted to meet Victor. Reporters came to his small room. They saw the shelf full of notebooks. They saw the small yellow lamp. They saw the simple life of a man who had given everything to city that never once said thank you. Many of them cried. The city mayor called Victor to the town hall in front of thousands of people. Victor walked in, same old man, simple clothes, quiet face, gentle eyes. The crowd went silent when they saw him. The mayor said, "This man saw what our best engineers missed. He had no salary for this, no title, no office, no recognition. He was just a street sweeper that we all walked past without looking at. But for 30 years, he watched, he recorded, he cared, he loved the city more than any of us." The crowd stood up, thousands of people clapping for one old man with a broom. Victor stood on the stage. He did not cry, he did not give any long speech. He just folded his hands gently and said in a soft voice, "I just did not want to waste what I saw every day." The whole hall went quiet, and then everyone cried. Victor never went to school. He had no degree, no certificate, no title. The world ignored him for 30 years, but he never ignored his duty. He never ignored what he saw. He never stopped caring about a city that did not even know his name. And in the end, the city could not ignore him. So next time you feel small, next time someone says you are nobody, next time the world walks past without looking, remember Victor, a man whose name meant winner, who proved that real winners do not wait for the world to notice them. They just keep working in silence with love until the work speaks for itself. Because legends do not always wear crowns. Sometimes they carry a broom. If this story touched your heart, share it with one person who works in silence and deserves the world's respect. And tell me in comments, do you know a Victor in your life? Someone who works every day without recognition, without reward, without thanks. Comment their name below. Let the world see them today. Subscribe for more stories of ordinary people who did extraordinary things. Because every legend was once called nobody. See you in the next video. Thanks for watching my video.